So let me rearrange the camera. What I wanted to do basically is I want to test, now that I've gotten the spools, before I attach all the spool threads to go through, I need to know if this counter is actually accurate. So my friend who taught me all about weaving had, and her husband, can't forget her husband, who's helping me out a lot as well, is that they've said that when I'm actually putting it onto the sectional, to be really, really careful and to go by the turns. So there's a crank that I've got, and I'm not sure if this is correct or not. So I've got a handle right here, okay, and it goes onto kind of a post there, and I'm going to turn it around. Now when I put this crank on, it is literally like, the rod or whatever that comes out literally is flush. So I don't know if this is going to keep falling off every time I do it or not. I've never used it before, okay? Let's put that back on. Oop, there we go. Okay, it's heavy, so I don't want that thing falling on my toes. So what I'm going to do is I've just taken just a simple piece of thread, okay? I've got the cone on the ground. This is just some A2 cotton warp. I just put one single thread through. There's 4 rods here, okay? So I was always told over under. So it goes through the grill, goes over the first rod, under the second rod, but the second rod I actually go around one full time for me because I found that that helped prevent some slippage, okay? I don't know if it's going to be necessary when I put all 20 threads through or not, but it did help when I was trying to wind the bobbins. So I'm over, under, around, then I come back on this side, I go over the third one, under the last one, and when I go under the last one, I've got the wheel on this side, and so basically I got the wheel, oh, this of course I have to unwind, give me a second here, whoop. So I've got the thread here, I'm going to put it on the wheel and wrap it around, okay, so let me do that, okay, there we go. And what I did is that on the side here, there's a little kind of notch, okay, that you put all the threads through so that it's going down straight. And so what I've ended up doing, hold on a sec here, where is this? Yeah, so, okay. So basically what I'm going to do is, let me pull this back here, all right? And so I want to basically rotate it. So if I go according to what my friend had said, they had measured, one rotation of this was 19 inches. So for the amount of warp that I need, the 5 yards, I should need approximately 9.5 rotations, okay, to get my 5 yards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my 9.5 rotations, but I'm going to look to see whether or not it's 5 yards. Well, actually, I'm going to have to convert that to meters and see whether or not I can actually rely on this. Now, it is hard because, of course, I'm turning it from way over there. I can't see the counter unless I've moved over further from that. So let's try it and see whether or not it actually works, okay? And clearly the handle doesn't stay on very well. I'm not quite sure why. It should, if it's missing something, or I don't think there is. I don't think there's there's no pin or anything, so we'll try it. What I want to do is I'm going to mark the top so that I can count manually to make sure I've got my 9.5, okay? So give me a second here. I'm going to just readjust the camera and put some sort of marker so I can count for that, okay? Okay, so I don't think you can see it, but basically I just put a little red piece of yarn on the top, so that will be my full rotation. On the other side, the other half, I put a black one so that I know when I get to that half mark there, okay? So let me try and see how easy this works, all right? Okay, so, let's see. Oh, no, wrong way. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a half. Okay? All right, so now let's see how far we ended up going with here. So it's showing me basically 5.3 meters. Let me convert that. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see, but basically I converted it from yards to meters. I said 5 yards, gives me how many meters. So you can see basically from there, I'm looking at about 4.6 meters. And I got 4.34-ish. So it's close. It's not too far off. So basically, I guess I could, just go a little bit past this one here. So there might be a little bit of slippage in there. I'm not quite sure exactly what it's accounting for. Okay. Now I did, before I started this, I did change, if you've seen previous videos, I did change all the little ropes that are on my actual sectional. Because what's going to happen is that the ropes are going to come and they're going to go behind the beam and, move this way. So at the end, what's going to happen is that whatever warp you have, right, is going to pull. And so my ropes, when I did that in the past, they used to stop right here. So all of this was always waste. So what I did is I lengthened them to make them come closer, so I have a little bit less waste when I'm actually doing my warp, like my weaving. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to use this method, but then I'm going to verify with here that I get to basically 0.6 to make sure that that's what I need to have. Okay. Now I'm going to try it now for the first time. I'm going to set up everything with the real thread and put it through, and we'll see whether or not that gives us exactly what it is that we need. Okay, so give me a second to get that set up. Okay, so I forgot that I took all 20 and I was going to put them through the rods, but I realized I have to put them through the reed first. So I've got to take them one by one in order to be able to do that. Give me a sec here. I think you're crooked. There we go. That helps. Okay, so I'm going to take the first one here. I'm going to put it through. I don't know how many reeds this is here, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So there's more than 20, so I'm good. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first one. All right. Now the nice thing with the Leclerc one is that it's got an open comb, so you're just kind of putting it through. You're not trying to fish it through and grab it on the other side. So again, we're going to go over, under, I'm going to wrap it around, and then I'm going to go over, under. The first one I'm going to put on the actual wheel, okay? And I'm going to, on this side here, there's a little, as I said, there's a little bar that allows for space, so it's got to go through that. So I'm going to do that, okay? And I'm going to do that for all of them. So now the remaining ones, basically the second one, I'm going to go through, obviously, the second dent, okay, here, get it on the other side. I'm going to go over, under, and around, over, under. I'm not going to go on the wheel, though. I only need one for the wheel, and so the rest of them basically will go through, and then they're going to go down through here, okay? So I'm going to go and do all 20. And then I'm going to come back to you guys, basically, and then I think this needs to be moved over quite a bit. There we go. All right. So, get a perfect line there. So I'm going to go and do all 20, and then I'll come back to you guys. Okay? Okay, so I put all 20 through the, there we go, the actual tension box. I've got it right here. I'm going to, for basically the, can you actually see what I'm doing here? I don't know if you can. I'm going to basically pull a little bit. I'm going to put a slip knot. All right, make it, well, not a slip knot, sorry. I'm going to make a knot at the end. Okay, give me a sec here. All right. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do basically is I have put painter's tape on which section. I needed 20 sections of 1 inch. So basically this is where my first one will be to center it. And then the last one will be over here, basically, okay? So I've got my first thread right here, okay? I'm going to, okay, so, aha! Well, I guess I'm going to have to pull it, I guess, because I don't know how else I'm supposed to do this here. So I'm going to do my lark heads knot, okay? And again, if you look at the manual section warping I've done, basically it shows you the whole process, basically. So, all right, I've got that here, all right? Now, what I need, though, is I need to be able to crank it and make sure that it cranks in between exactly, because I've moved it, but I don't know again, it's, you know, like this thing has a little lever here that I have to loosen and slowly move over 1 inch. So we'll have to see, first of all, let me try and take the crank, because it keeps falling on the floor because it's not staying. I'm not sure why. It looks very worn and very old, so it's quite possible that's just the case over time. All right, so let's just hold on here. Is that completely? It's almost like you need 2 people to do this. Here, it's in the wrong one. Hold on here. So I need this. Oop. This is not working for me here. Let's see here. There. Okay, there. You know, it might be easier for me to do this instead here. Okay. So here's, at the beginning when I said I put the red on the top, so it looks like the black on the top is going to start with my, with it there. So, all right, let's see what we've got here. So we've got 1. You know what, I should really tape each side to make sure it's going through correctly, but, okay, so I've got 1. And I've got the knot here. I thought I made them long enough that they can go kind of in between here, so I'm going to try and see if I can hook it underneath there so it's not interfering. All right. I should probably do this here. I'm going to, instead of doing them so far away, I can actually, I'm not using this. All right, I can just watch it from here. Okay, so, crap. What did I just say? What rotation was I at? Oh, I'm at 1 yard, or 1 meter. Okay, well, I need to get to 4.5. So, I pretend that that's, oh, there we go. I'm just trying to guide it to make sure it goes in between here. I'm just going to watch my counter. So we said it should be 4.6. So I'm just going to keep going till 4.6. Because stupid me, I lost count. All right. Well, it's a lot easier, I have to say. Like, you know, in the manual way, I had to kind of, oh, went too far. Of course I did. Of course I did. Okay, so, hold on here. This one, of course, has to be the pane once it goes down, up, and around. Okay. Okay, so let's pull all this back. Wind these back, I guess. So if this is your first time doing it, after an inch or 2, you're going to figure out, okay, what you need to watch for, obviously, and how not to screw up. All right. The hope is, again, that you're watching my video so that you watch me screw up so you don't have to. All right, so let's see there. Okay. So I went a little bit too far. I backed it up, which of course, you know, causes no end of issues here. Okay, and this one here was the first one. So let's do that. Pull that one back, and that was the first one here. Okay, cool. Okay, so now that we've got that I need to cut it off. So I'm not sure where to really cut it off. I don't want to restring everything, so I'm going to probably cut it. Let's do that. Okay, so let's cut it lower here. Okay, and then I am going to basically do that, tape it down. All right, tape it around. And that's my first one there. So the next thing I have to do basically is I've got to move it over 1 inch and then do the whole thing all over again. Here. At 4.4. Okay, and then we've got did I? Okay, I screwed up. I put the sectional in one direction for the first one and the other direction in the other one, and that's why I'm realizing when I cut it off, I'm like, it's not going to be in the same position. Like, what's going on? So that's another error I made. So again, don't do that. The process obviously is the same. Make sure you're moving the sectional in exactly the same way each time. So. Okay, let me go back and let's try that again in the proper rotation this time. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, I made a boo-boo. So no big surprise there, something new that I'm learning. So I went around, as you saw, I put it the wrong way. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to rewind and put it back on the spool all the way to the beginning, and then we'll do it the proper way. Not a big deal. Well, of course, it had to be a big deal. So number one, you remember when I went over, under, but I went around to help with the slippage there. That's great when you're going forward onto the sectional. It is nasty when you are trying to back it up, okay, because it started to get super tangled. As you can see from the picture there, it's a nightmare. So I'm literally taking some out, spinning them back on all the wheels, taking a little bit more out. Now I've gotten finally to the end. As you can see, the lovely part that I've got here, and then I'm just going to take them all individually, take them off, rewind them, restring them without that loop on the second bar, and then I'm going to do it again. And hopefully this time I wind it on the correct way, because I think I'm going to cry. Right now I'm going to walk away for a few minutes because I'm getting to the point where my swear jar is full, and when my swear jar is full, I always eat the chocolate in the swear jar. I walk away and then I come back. So I will pause the video now, and I'll come back once I have this all taken apart and restrung properly so that we can do it again. Okay? So I've restrung everything. A couple of things I found out along the way. Now, you know that I don't have all the proper bobbins. For me to invest in it, it's looking about $5 Canadian per large spool, basically, and so you're looking about $135, not including taxes. If I wanted to get 24, for example, because usually the largest EPI I do is 24. So before I invested in that, I just used the bobbins that I happen to have. Okay, so first of all, if you've got the correct bobbins, use them. The next thing that I would love to know if somebody watches this, I could put into the comments because you know, is that when you put it through the reed, is there a particular order in the spool rack? Because what I did is I just went across each row, but of course they're all mixed up in this area here, right? So I don't know that it necessarily matters, but I would love to know that, you know, if it has some sort of effect or not. So rewinding was a disaster again, and so basically I had to take everything out. You know, you saw the mess that was on that I was dealing with constantly there. I also decided to redo the first section because when I was doing it with the handle, I put it in the wrong direction than I usually, like when I manually do it, I pull forward. That's just natural for me. But again, with the handle, I didn't realize that. I'm very bad with backward things. And so I knew that I would screw up again down the road. So I'm like, you know what? Just put it, rewind, remove it, put it back on in the proper direction that you're going to do all the other ones manually. Okay? If using the crank works for you, great. I just didn't find it natural for myself, and so I'm just going to try with this one here. Okay? So let's try it, take 2. Okay, so one more time here. Okay, and let's hope I don't screw up. So I'm going to do that all the way along for the 20. Hopefully I've wound enough on to do that. I'll let you know at the end whether that went smoothly or not. So it didn't do so badly. If I didn't screw up on a regular basis, I do think that this method might actually be faster once I get it down pat. You know, putting the yarn on the, or the thread on bobbins took quite a while because I was doing it manually. If you have an electric bobbin winder, wow, that will go a lot faster. And this one, you're just moving it over little bit by little bit until you do your 20 sections. So I'm not going back and forth from the warping board to here, then, you know, untangling the chains as I go through and so forth. I don't have a problem with that way. It's slower. But if I wanted to, like, for example, I'm doing these towels because I'm thinking, well, maybe I might try selling a few of these towels at one of the Weavers Guild's shows that we have later on this year. They have a co-op booth for people just to try it out, right? Like, not have them necessarily their own table. I thought, well, let's try. You know, I put a couple of towels, see if people like my work or whatever, right? And we'll see what happens, you know? Anyway, so let me finish this off, and then I will come back and we'll talk about the next sections. Okay, so I'm getting the gist of it. I've done several. It is a lot quicker when you stop making a ton of mistakes. Yeah. It's a lot quicker when you stop making a ton of mistakes, for sure. So what I was going to do is basically when I finish and I cut it off, I have this tail here. So I knot it. Let me just do that. Try and bring it as close to the end as you can, so you're minimizing waste, okay? And then I was trying to figure out, well, how do I line this up with the next section? So basically I let this hang, and when it hangs, it shows me where it is. So basically I end up loosening it, I move it over, obviously there, looks like that would be good. I tighten it up, okay? Now the one thing I have noticed as I go along is that you've got to remember to hit the counter to reset it. I've done that, forgotten to do that more than once. I also find that the wheel where the thread is going through, my wheel is a wooden wheel, I do find it a bit slippery, so sometimes it does actually slip off, so you got to keep an eye on that as well. And because of my sectional, these cords that I made are very long, what I end up doing, because I don't want to have this counted as part of the thing on my counter, is that I actually start rotating it, okay? All right, until most of it is done. Then I do my lark heads knot, all right? So I do my lark heads knot. I put the knot in the tail there. Then I start to, just as it's about to start there, okay? So what I would do in future is I would put, you know, that red yarn or whatever, I would put it here on one of these because that's technically where I'm starting it when I'm trying to count my revolutions, okay? I hit the reset button on my counter, and then I start to go through. Now what I do is I tend to hold on to the threads because sometimes they do go on either side of the actual metal I have found. There are, Leclerc does have, for example, little guides that help them go in. I don't know if that's essential necessarily, unless you're not watching it or whatever. Me, as I said, as I'm doing it, so let me just see here. As I'm going through, I just hold it to make sure that it's going through the middle of the two marks that I want to do. I found that using the crank is a little bit of a pain because it falls off very easily. It's not meant to stay on, I get it, but it just, you know, as soon as I leave the crank to come here to cut it or whatever, it's falling to the floor. So I thought, you know what, this way is much easier for me. Okay. And make sure I don't talk past what I need here. Okay. So I just keep rotating it. I do find this rotation constantly kind of gets hard on my joints. You know, so you may have to take a break, but it is quick, you know, and I still have a lot to go. So here we go, about halfway through. So I'm waiting to hit 4.6 basically. And I should know when I'm approaching, right now I'm at 4.6, okay? And again, it should line up. Like all of these should line up if I'm doing them correctly, okay? So basically, I do that, I cut it, I put my little painter's tape ahead of time. I've actually remembered to make my life easier. Tape it down, and then basically I've got this, I tie it off, and I go on to the next one, and I just keep going. So it has been actually quite a lot quicker than my previous manual method. The manual method is much cheaper because we don't have, you know, all the spools and things like that. Obviously, if that's all you've got, it can be done for sure. And I did it for, you know, the last 3 years. I've done it that way, and I have no problems. I'm not in a rush to do it. But this is actually a lot quicker. My friend was right. And I'm enjoying it. It's going fairly quickly. Okay. The only thing I need to find out though is that because I'm looking at my spools right now, they're looking like they're getting closer to the end. So I've only got a few sections. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections left to do. The $1 million question will be, am I short on the last one? Did I actually count accordingly, or because of the little extra that I'm taking on each one when I do the knot, for example, and so forth, did I take too much along the way that I screwed up with the last one? So that we'll end up seeing. Okay? So I've gotten to the last section, and I'm short. And I'm like, oh, why? Why on earth? So I don't know why, to be perfectly honest. I wound each of these. I needed to have 91.44 meters, which was equivalent to 5 yards. I put on 95 meters on each one to deal with that extra. So I'm guessing that when I did the rotations, I had to have miscounted at some point, even with the counter, because I know the counter can be off, and you're not supposed to rely on it too heavily. So I'm guessing 2 of these are going to have an extra turn because my spools had approximately 3 yards left on it, so it's so frustrating. So now I've got to rewind most of my bobbins to put on that last 5 yards so that I can actually do the last section and then get started on threading and so forth. So darn those squirrels. Okay, so stay focused when you're doing this. That's all I can ask. My brain, as I said, they say, my ducks are not in a row. In fact, I've got a whole bunch of squirrels running around, and I swear to God, one of them's a pigeon. So I saw that once on Facebook, and I thought, oh, that is so me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish that, and I will come back in the next video to continue on with the project for the, what is it called? The Call of the Crows towels. All right? So have yourself a great day.